Chris, Sally, good to see you.
Hello.
Hello, Tom.
So your business title, Conflict to Intimacy. Can you dive into that and also dive into why you guys work together?
Okay. Should we start? Well, the reason we work together is that I hold the womb, the mother energy for when we're doing our couple work together, and Chris always says that he holds the conscious energy and he can feel what people are feeling, and he gets into his emotional body, and he gets a lot of insights come through, don't you?
Yeah, I don't feel what they're feeling. I feel what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
But what I'm feeling is activated by what they're showing me.
Yeah.
And I concentrate on feeling that, and in order to understand the situation. But the reason why I find it so beneficial to work with you is because I can't. It's a limitation I've got. I can't actually take care of the holding of them and feel the feeling that's coming to me.
Yeah.
And I tend to carry on talking even when they need someone to hold them, and you have to actually shut me up.
Yeah, as you go.
So you hold a hand up to me and say, yeah, that's enough.
Go
Yes,
into the deep feeling that
they're there now, okay.
Yeah.
And then I take a back seat and so on.
So when they're talking
And
to
I
you...
watch the mothering happening then, and I actually feel nourished by seeing that happen, because that's quite an interesting process.
Yeah, I bet, yeah.
It's very humbling.
It's very, very nourishing to actually watch somebody else getting that part of themselves that's never been held.
That's a big part of therapy, is when you're talking to the therapist, that they are responding to you like a person. So you're seeing that you're having an interaction with reality, with the world. But then obviously with you there as well, as holding the mother space, it creates a sense of safety, and it's a really good polarity.
Yeah.
So your website mentions conflict resolution. Can you explain what the key principles are of that?
Okay, so
Leave this to
I
you.
mean, okay, I kind of liked you there. There, have a conflict.
Okay.
So conflict happens when, how can I explain this? Like when people meet each other, they like each other because I like the same things you like, and you don't like the same things that I don't like. So therefore we've got a mutual dislike of certain things, so we've got an agreement never to bring it up. I'm never going to bring up that thing that you don't like, and therefore we've got this. So that void is like the barbed wire. That's the barbed wire fence. Nobody transgresses that, right? And then one day, you're encountering a feeling that is actually in that no-go zone area, and you want some help with it. And I'm saying, no, you can't do that. You agreed that you would never actually get me to feel that feeling, and you're breaking the agreement. So please stop and take that feeling back into shame.
Right. Yes.
Take that feeling back into shame, and come on, we're going to go and have a beer. We're going to have a nice cake, or go and watch a film, or do something else. Or in a couple, we'll go and have sex instead. We'll do anything but actually address the issue, or I'm going out, or anything but address the issue, because the feelings aren't allowed. So I've got feelings I don't want, you're activating them, please stop. That's an argument, that's a conflict. And that's pretty universally what conflicts are about. They're about an experience that somebody has had where they had to abandon themselves originally, and they abandon themselves. The perception is that of a small child is that they abandon themselves in order to survive.
Yes.
And so therefore you're activating a part of me that I can't stand the feeling of, and if I do, I feel like I'm going to die, so please stop. And it's subtle. And it's very, very well rehearsed, and people's defences are magnificent. As were mine.
that makes me think back to my experience with the feeling of having abandoned yourself, and whenever that feeling was strong, any intimacy, any communication in the relationship was instantly compromised, because you're talking to a persona, a facade of the person. If you're not embodied, if you're not with that person in the body, they can't. It's like you're there, but you're not there.
Can't connect.
Yeah, and my experience of that within relationships was that I wanted to tear down the facade. I literally, why can't you hear me? You know, why are you doing that? I want to rip down that facade, and the other person gets even more scared, thinking, oh God, I might feel something.
Big time.
Yeah.
Next question. If someone is interested in booking a session of their inner child work, what should they expect to get from the experience?
I think we would work towards finding where some of that self-abandonment actually is. So, I would help identify something that will be the trigger. They would get to experience the part of themselves that is in pain that they've abandoned, and they get to actually sit and hold themselves in that place, and realising that the longer that they hold themselves in that place, the less death-like it feels.
Yes.
So it's actually like building up a muscle.
Normalising it, making it safe, and then the feeling.
Yeah, it's actually about what we're
child.
trying to do is to try to get them to journey into the unsafe so they're going as a pioneer, they're going as a carrier of their adventure kit into the uncharted territory of pain and death, and knowing that they're going to come out of it unscathed. And I think that's one of the reasons why we have all of these wonderful films on the TV where the person is going in as the hero into the uncharted territory, and he comes out with with success, nothing can kill him, and he gets the girl at the end. So in a session of therapy, what we're looking for is that instead of getting the girl at the end, the solution is that they get to hold themselves. The hero holds himself at the end.
I see. Yes, that makes sense.
Hilarious! You couldn't make it up, could you?
I thought it was you snoring for a minute, and I thought, oh no, we bought it.
Wonderful,
dear
wonderful.
God, that is absolutely...
He what's his name again?
Ozzy.
Ozzy. He can be the cameo. He can be part of it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, next question then. In couples therapy, what are the most common issues that you normally see people have, and that you trying to
I think that's a
resolve?
good one.
Issues.
Yeah, what are the common issues?
Oh, so many. This is conflict, isn't it? Yeah, lots of conflict. Different things. It's usually about how you put the dishes in the dishwasher, but it's not about that really. It's just underneath.
I don't know. It's like he goes out too much. She was always on the phone, or
So you're feeling abandoned.
he goes out, drinks, and leaves me with the kids, or.
And usually, what's behind it is an abandoned feeling, or an unloved feeling, or not important. Sort of these are behind it all. And then it triggers a big conflict.
Yeah. So what the most common thing is that there are behaviours that are happening that are in order to one partner is using that prevents the intimacy, and the other one is actually needing that intimacy, and that intimacy is the need of that intimacy is causing a conflict. But it's never talked about in terms of the pain that's actually happening as a result, because that's not allowed. That's in the distance past. What it is that they bring the behaviours. They'll say he does this, she does that, she does this, he does that. That's you. It's all blame, and it's blame for behaviour. And it's never actually about what they feel. And if it is about what they feel, it'll be, I feel that you do, or I feel that you're always, it's that kind of thing. So it's actually, I feel they've learnt that they need to own their feelings, and they say, yes, I feel, but it's you, rather than actually inviting intimacy in by saying what they actually really feel. So that tends to be what happens when couples bring to us, is that they're at an accusative phase in their relationship, and the accusations aren't bringing them the rewards that they're bringing them the closeness that they once had. And the thing is that the initial stages of a relationship there's actually an imagined closeness, because actually I've met you, you looked into my eyes, everything was beautiful, and we didn't see the gulf between us where no man's land is. We couldn't see that. And we liked each other because we didn't push each other into that place, and now it's happening. So what do we do? And there's no one to actually show us how to actually navigate no man's land, because no man's land is where feelings are, and the feelings aren't allowed.
Because when you go into a relationship, you don't expect there to be this unspoken contract where you both got to not perform, but you've both got to aim towards exposing the parts of yourself that are unresolved, and when it rears its ugly head 10, 15, 20 years down the line, whatever, then there's no roadmap.
2 hours, wasn't it, darling?
That's a personal best. So what sets your approach with trauma therapy? What sets your approach from other types of trauma therapy, would you say?
I think the thing that's different in the way in which we look at it is that the way I see trauma is that an event has happened, and there's an emotional overwhelm that happens as a result of that event, and the best that the individuals can do, usually a child, but the best that they can do is to actually abandon themselves in favour of something else, because there's no help for the situation. There's no actual help with the feelings that arise from that situation. There's all the help that is given is how to escape the feelings, not how to be boss and master of yourself. So we work with how to actually cope with the feelings that arise out of what's happened, rather than actually try to give any coping strategy to what happens when the feelings are activated.
Yeah, I see.
So it's much more. It's really all the same. All of it is about it's feeling focused, whether it's relationship or other kinds of trauma.
One of the things that I think really has an impact on how bad a traumatic event is in the long term is what happens in the hours that preceded the event, if it is an event that occurred. And if you have something really bad happen, but then the next 24 hours are hell, then that's 24 hours to genetically store that experience as something that's going to haunt you. But if you're able to sit with the person and conjure up the sensation of that trauma, but then walk them into a place of safety in their own body, but also with you guys as friends, and then not so much end on a high note, but send them away in good spirits, and they have the afterglow. Surely, eventually, they're gonna their body is gonna associate that trauma with something that's actually, in the grand scheme of things, not that big of a deal. No longer haunting them. Obviously depends on the trauma, but
I think sometimes the traumatic events are things that have been passed, say for example, from one generation to another. For example, most of us have actually got ancestral relationship to people who've been in a war, and very often people have witnessed terrible things that have never been resolved, and the unwanted feelings are then visited on their children. So it's like somebody who's seen something terrible actually in the following generation then beats his children, because he's transferring the pain from his unresolved pain into his child. And so the child is actually traumatised even though he wasn't actually at the war. But it is as if he was, or she, whoever it is.
Did you find, because obviously having German on one side, Indian on the other, but the history of, with Germany, the war, with India, post-generational colonialisation, things like that, did you feel...
It's more, with my dad, it was more about about partition and about the bloodbath following partition. My dad actually left India shortly after partition because it was a very dangerous place for a mixed race Indian to be in. So,
okay.
I mean, both of my parents came to Britain as refugees, effectively. They didn't tell me as a child, hey, we're refugees. They didn't do that. But in retrospect, reflection, they were effectively refugees with a huge amount of emotional unresolved baggage.
Sure.
And then my sister and I grew up in a culture where it was, it was like, didn't like Nazis, didn't like wogs, so it's like there was no home for us as children either. So yeah, it's kind of been the driving force towards me being in the position where I am now. It was like I was either make it or break, break or make, wasn't it? So to go back to the first question, which was I was like intergenerational trauma can be visited on a child, and then the child who wasn't actually present when the original trauma happens, actually in the healing of that place can actually feel connected to the original unhealed trauma. So there can be a sense of connection to the place where that trauma originated from, and in the place where that pain actually resides in the body, we can actually bring our resources and our care to that place.
Sure.
And when we do that, we find that we're bringing all of our resources into a place of pain. And if we bring our resources into that place of pain, we can create, we can intuit, we can make, and we can be inspired as well to actually know what's going to happen if we use that creative energy with love to create what's going to happen next. And what happens in my experience is that when those three gifts of intuition, creativity and inspiration are applied to the place that hurts, when the correct solution is given, when the trial solution fits the feeling disappears. The pain disappears because you've got the answer. And it doesn't disappear until you've actually tried everything, and then suddenly, whoosh, you realise that you've got the answer to give, and then that sends a wave back to where the original trauma came from, and you know that that's the answer to go forward.
I would like to dig into that. That's fascinating.
That's a longer conversation than that.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot there. Going back to methods, why do you guys? I'm also quite curious about it. But why you guys focus on breath work and the importance of breath work versus, say, personal transformation that can come from fairly modern approaches like cognitive behavioural therapy, NLP, reshaping the story of your life, or do you not? Do you do both? Do you find a way? Because I know you've hearkened back to the overarching narrative of your life, the hero's journey almost that one has to identify with to climb out of the trauma, or to re-identify with someone who's not hopeless and isn't gonna lose it all, but someone who has, especially if you're dealing with post-generational trauma, because then you have a responsibility to cut the link of what could have been going on for hundreds of years. You don't know, and so there's a big big thing there.
It's not cutting the link, it's actually carrying the link as the information that you need in order to go forward. It's actually seeing it as the gift of because the trauma actually passes you the information of what needs to be done. Inside the pain is what needs to be done, but you can't actually. It's like a holographic plate. You know, you point your laser at the object, and you record a speckled image, and you can't see anything. But you point that laser of coherent light back at the plate, and then suddenly the picture appears, and you get to look at it. Right? So what the coherent light is my attention going into the pain. So the pain is amorphous, the pain has got no shape. But when I pay my attention into it, I can see the shape that's hidden inside that pain. And I know that my picture is the right picture when the solution, I can see through the pain. I can see through the pain because I can see the picture. I allow myself to construct the picture.
Could you elaborate on that by saying you've taken it from the chaotic unknown of without shape or form, or the feminine, and you've taken it into the conscious masculine?
And the pain gives it the shape. So when you apply your coherent attention into the pain, it gives it the shape. And then from that shape you can actually construct a future.
So you give the pain a meaning almost. And that
the
meaning,
pain carries the meaning. You look into it to find it.
I see, and then you channel it into the pain, and then then you
and
see why the pain was
If you're not going to apply your creativity, there's no point in seeing the pain. If you're not going to actually apply, so you're going to use the gifts that you've got inside yourself in order to use effectively the creator God inside yourself. You're going to activate that part, and that probably is the biggest taboo. That creator God, applying that to the part that nobody wants, is going to create a future alternative. Whereas actually burying the pain just keeps the bit that needs to be done undone.
And read the breathwork, the conscious connected breathwork we found was the first thing we did on our journey. I found it really, really deep work to go into the pain, feel it, get conscious of it.
I did so much psychotherapy and I just went round and round and round and round. I did one session of breathwork.
Really?
And I thought, this is what I'm going to do.
It's the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
That was the heavy lifting. That was the heavy lifting without any shadow of doubt. I've got goosebumps as I talk about it. It's really, it's really excitement, real, because
quick to get to pain.
Right, here's the thing, right? With trauma, an animal is about to be killed. What they do, they freeze. They stop. They hold their breath. Go stop still. Because if they hold their breath, they go into a state of hypoxia, and in that state of hypoxia, they're numb. Right? We're doing that all the time. We're constantly restricting and reducing our oxygen carrying capacity. We're reducing it constantly. And not just through breathing. We actually reduce our oxygen carrying capacity of our blood through our diet. Some of the foods that we actually eat will effectively reduce the oxygen supply in the blood.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that as well.
Yeah, well, that's another little rabbit hole.
Sure.
So we reduce the oxygen carrying capacity of our blood so that we can't feel. And if we can't feel, then we're not going to feel the pain. So when we start to breathe, we increase the oxygen that's in the blood, and it's like every single thing that the body has ever felt is up for grabs. Is available. And so I notice as I'm breathing, stop breathing really, really deeply. I notice, I've got a twitch in my foot, and I want to move it. What happens if I just watch and observe? Then the message that's there I can receive. But if I try to get rid of it, I can't. I'm blocking it, and I keep blocking it until I'm screaming and I want to get out. But if I actually surrender and allow myself to experience what's there. The biggest training thing that I ever had on this journey was Sally and I we were at a festival, a raw food festival no less, and there was somebody else who was running a breathwork session, and we said, let's go and have a look, let's go and see what they're about. And it was in an open gazebo, just a roof. It was raining, so we were sheltered, but the grass was a little wet, so there were some mats around. And we lay down and thought, this is going to be interesting. It was howling a gale outside. And I thought, yeah, I'll get on with it. And I just thought, yeah, I'll just surrender. And as I was lying there, I had an experience, really quite a strange experience. I had an earwig come into my ear. And I thought, that's interesting.
Remember that, yeah.
That's interesting. I thought, do I interrupt my breathing now and actually dig it out? Or do I just work with it? And I worked with it. I thought, well, no. That earwig is not going to be my boss.
It's still in there to this day.
And I just did that. It's still in there to this day. Yeah. No, I mean I just breathed, and it was the most exquisite discomfort. It took me to the most incredible place where I just holding on to everything just fell away. And it was like my whole body went into total free fall. And I think it's actually been part of what shaped me in having the ability to do the work that Sally and I do.
Amazing.
So my guru is actually an earwig.
Yeah.
Any last messages, thoughts that you want to share? You guys? It's been immensely insightful on my end.
If you want to get the closeness and intimacy, we call it intimacy, and seeing into each other, then it's a journey that we could help people with, and we'd be humbled to do that. And we've learnt a lot on our way. A lot of what we teach has come from what we've done with each other, and that's been working, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So, and we found that a lot of it was transference, that I was transferring to Chris and he was transferring to me, and from unconscious feelings that were unconscious, and we needed to bring them into the consciousness, and so and that ended up in conflict, and then we found a way to turn that all around by actually being with the feelings and sharing what we felt from each other.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is interesting, because it's like that conflict, the if you like, the discomfort that comes from experiencing conflict. That discomfort actually contains the meaning. So the discomfort contains the meaning of what's in that barbed wire zone. So the conflict contains the pain. That's the hot potato that you're throwing between you that nobody wants to catch. And so when you actually say, like, let's hold on to that, let's hold it, and see what it's like to actually hold it, and see what it's like to actually feel burnt, and to actually feel that. What's that like? And in that place where the feeling hasn't got control over what I do next, who am I then? What do I become when the feelings I've got are not in charge?
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you.
Thank
Tom.
you for doing that.
Yeah,
That's great. That's great.
Pleasure.
Oh God.
But that was about half an hour, wasn't it?
That was something.
What's the password? No, Sally, isn't it?
Sally,
How long was it?
Did you press record?
Not
Just
long.
press record.
Oh, you pressed record!
You're